In May 2022, I put out a video that gave a tour and walkthrough of Vilnius Airport. Well, a lot has changed with the airport since then, and since it's one of my more popular videos, it's clear that people are interested in what this facility is like. So today we'll take a full tour of Vilnius International Airport, including its brand new departures terminal. Let's get started. So listening to some feedback from the previous video, it does kind of make sense to start with the arrivals experience. Sure, a lot of Lithuanians watch these videos and might first encounter the airport through departures, but I think a lot of foreigners also depend on videos like this to help prepare them for their trip to Vilnius. Anyways, the structure of this video will go like this. First, the arrivals terminal and arrivals process, and then the brand new departure terminal. And then later on, as a bonus, I'll discuss some airport transportation information at the very end. But I guess just skip through to whatever video section is most relevant to you. So, arriving at Vilnius Airport by plane, you'll either be connected to a jet bridge to walk right into the terminal, or you'll deplane with airstairs and then either walk to the terminal yourself, or be taken by a bus. Yeah, there are quite a few possibilities for what will happen. If you're coming from another country in the Schengen zone and your aircraft uses a jet bridge, I think you'll just walk into the terminal and you just follow the signs for the exit. If this is what happens, well, you're essentially airside, and I guess you could even just get yourself a meal at one of the restaurants on this side of the facility, but you're probably eager to get to your destination. Everyone goes to either this far end of the terminal, or possibly the other side, where everyone will be forced down to the bottom level. I believe non-Schengen travelers will clear customs and then come down from the upper floor, and Schengen travelers arriving via jet bridge into the terminal will be on this floor. If you get off the plane with airstairs, a bus usually takes you to a corner of the arrivals terminal where you will proceed to the baggage carousels. Right after getting through these doors, there are toilets, which is what many passengers rush for after a long flight. Now, if you're coming from outside the Schengen area, you'll be directed towards the Customs and Border Control section. I can't remember if I've ever come here via jet bridge, but I know that if you get off a plane using stairs, then you're guided to an entrance, and then you have to go up a few levels, and then proceed to customs. Now, I wasn't permitted to film the customs area, but I can tell you that it was updated in the last year or two, and I can also tell you that there are plenty of automated gates for EU citizens and passport holders to use. Once you clear customs, you'll be following signs to get to the baggage collection hall. The current arrivals terminal is an old Soviet-era building, so it can feel old and a bit dated as you wait for your luggage. I'll just tell you now that there is fast and free Wi-Fi throughout the airport for both arrivals and departures. One thing to note about the arrivals experience is that there are 2 exits out of the baggage pickup hall. This is something you definitely want to be aware of if someone is picking you up. If your baggage comes out on this side, you're most likely to take this exit. But if your baggage comes to a carousel on this side, you'll come out of this exit. Signs on the outside try to give people an idea of which exit passengers will come out of, depending on the flight, but since there's technically nothing to stop passengers from using either exit, there is a chance for some confusion if a passenger is supposed to meet someone on the other side. The bottom line for this is if you're at the airport to pick someone up or you're arriving to meet someone, definitely be aware of the 2 exits. Now, when you exit the baggage hall, you'll get to see more of this old Soviet-era building. I won't get into the controversy surrounding this structure in this video, but I personally find it quite unique among airports around the world. Like, where else would you find such detail on the walls and ceilings? On the one side, there's a currency exchange, and beyond that, there's a Narvesen. If you're a foreigner, then just take note that Narvesen convenience stores are everywhere, at least across much of Vilnius. These small shops are where you can get public transportation cards as well, but again, I'll discuss public transport from the airport in more detail at the end. And so now let's head over to the brand new departures terminal, which was open in February 2025. So it's hard to miss this big new building. If you're facing the front of the airport, it's on the left. For Vilnius visitors and residents who know what the old departure terminal was like, it's definitely a big, beautiful upgrade from what it was before. With the old terminal hall, it was absolutely packed at certain times of the day, and that kind of congestion was only from like 4 or 5 flights, departing around the same time. It was just quite a small area, but you can see that this new facility is significantly larger. Now, if you arrive early, you can head to the Narvesen to pick up a snack or drinks, but you can also head up to the waiting area. Up there, you'll find plenty of seating, electrical outlets and toilets, and even a library. The airport representatives tell me that travelers can take a book on their trip and then return it when they come back to Vilnius, which I think is a pretty fantastic initiative. And so once it's time to check in or drop off your baggage, you can easily see where your airline desk is with all the signage, and additionally, if your airline allows for it, the terminal has self-bag drop and self-check-in kiosks, making everything extra convenient. Once all that stuff is done, you head to this far side of the hall and you go to the upper level, and that's where you'll head through the security checkpoints to get Airside. Again, I wasn't permitted to film this section of the airport, but there isn't anything too surprising, just the standard x-ray machines and metal detectors. There are no full body scanners here, but at least it's a notable improvement from the security screening area of the old terminal, which again was quite cramped and somewhat claustrophobic. Another fantastic update that I was thrilled to see was the what you would call parallel divestment stations. I don't think many people know the official name, but it's where people can prepare themselves to get screened alongside other travelers, and then only when their tray is ready, they can push it onto the belt. And I think this is great in avoiding one really slow person from delaying everyone behind them. Now we just need to get people to collect their tray from the other side, and then move out of the way and put themselves together at a separate table. But that's a whole other issue. So now we're airside of the new departures terminal. It's important to know that the old terminal is still used for flights as well. For that, there is a corridor connecting to that part of the airport. But on this new side, there just isn't too much. Not yet at least. A few gates upstairs, a few downstairs, and some seating. This means travelers will need to walk down the corridor to the other side for restaurants, cafes, and the lounge. Also important to know is that non-Schengen flights are on the old side. There's not too much to say about this, other than it's probably best to clear passport control early, especially if you don't have an EU passport and need to go through the normal, slower process. Sometimes it can get busy there, and lines can move slowly. For the non-Schengen area after customs, well, there isn't too much, especially when you compare it to the Schengen area of the airport. However, I would say it's still better to get through border control and have that done with, just to make sure that you'll be on time for your flight. So this is what it looks like on the upper level of the non-Schengen area. And then downstairs, you'll see that there's this pizza place and a cafe. For the Schengen area of this older side, there's a lot more. As for now, it's still where most of the airside amenities are. I'm sure many of you have experienced these things already, but in case you haven't, there are a few duty-free stores and restaurants here, including an Asian restaurant and a pizza place. Both these places allow for ordering and payment via kiosk, which is fantastically convenient. I won't show you all of the amenities in this video, but it's worth exploring around this part of the airport if you have time. The business lounge is upstairs on this side, and here's what it looked like. The food and drink here can be pretty good depending on the day. So if you have some time before a flight, I do think it's worth the money to come here and enjoy the peace and quiet for a few hours away from the noisiness of the gate area. And then when it comes to boarding your aircraft, yeah, I think there are many cases where you'll either be walking outside to your aircraft or heading onto a bus and being driven to your aircraft's remote stand. It's essentially guaranteed for Ryanair flights, but I've also had it happen with airBaltic and Finnair flights. I can say that Lufthansa flights usually use a jet bridge. Oh, and then during my guided tour through the airport, I was shown the connecting flights area, which has a security screening checkpoint, and so, yeah, it does exist. Now, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think many, if any, travelers have connecting itineraries that would make use of this area. I imagine it's necessary to have this section if someone is flying from a non-Schengen country to another non-Schengen country through Vilnius. However, I don't think any airlines offer such itineraries at the moment, and probably won't for the foreseeable future. In doing research for this video, I learned that you can theoretically book a trip with airBaltic that could see you fly from Riga to somewhere like Krakow with a connection in Vilnius. And so in this case, you still wouldn't use the connecting flights area, because I think passengers would just get off the plane and end up in the Schengen area section, and then they would just be able to walk to the next gate. Again, someone correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, that's the experience of departing Vilnius Airport. But then, as I promised, here's a little bit of information about transportation from the airport. When you exit the arrivals building, intercity buses are over on the left in the distance, and then public transport is on your right, closer to the departures building. The times of buses are displayed on a screen in the arrivals hall. The 3G and 88 go through the city center, while the 1 and 2 buses stop at Stotis, which is the name for the central bus and train station area. Yeah, Stotis is somewhat the southern edge of what is considered the city center, but it's not like fully in the middle of the city center. Anyways, you can get a transportation card at the Narvisons, which are either at the arrivals hall or departures hall, and you'll need to tell the cashier what type of tickets you want to load onto it. You can also buy a trip ticket directly on the bus if you have a bank card or smart device that supports contactless payment. This is especially useful if you are in a hurry and you see that your bus is leaving soon. Most of the doors for the public transport buses will be open and you can just hop on board and use the machine yourself. Actually, the drivers don't sell any tickets, so you won't need to interact with them. The M-Ticket or Trafi apps can be used for buying tickets as well, but I'm told international bank cards might not work with these apps. Now, taxi is the most expensive option, but they are the easiest to find. And then as a middle compromise, you can get a Bolt car through the Bolt app, which is another form of taxi, but it's cheaper. All Bolt rides booked from the airport will pick you up in a very specific area, which is in this specific parking lot. There are signs, but it's kind of straight ahead and a bit to the right from the arrivals building. Oh, and if you want a super cheap meal and you have a lot of time to kill before going to the airport, you could just walk 10 to 15 minutes to the IKEA and Nordica shopping center. But yeah, I think that's everything to know about the current travel experience at Vilnius International Airport. There is a plan to replace the arrivals building, but that won't happen for the next few years. I do hope this video helps you out and gives you a full picture of what the current Vilnius airport is like. A huge special thank you to the Lithuanian airports team, specifically Tadas, Yeva, and Agne. If you would like me to try and do a similar video for Kaunas Airport, please leave a comment to voice your opinion. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.